Hello, basketball people, we have news. Let's go to more news about the Golden State Warriors. I ask you to give a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, as I am a Warriors fan. Warriors should target potential all-star in Pelicans fire sale. The Golden State Warriors are searching for the best ways to maximize the end of Stephen Curry's, Draymond Green's, and Jimmy Butler's careers. Trading for Butler was part of that, but they face a few big decisions coming up this offseason, like whether or not to extend Jonathan Kuminga. One possible option would be to trade for Trey Murphy III from the New Orleans Pelicans, as it is believed anyone on the roster could be had for the right price. Grant Hughes from Bleacher Report suggested Murphy as an ambitious target for the Warriors this offseason. Yahoo Sports' Kevin O'Connor reported, "There are no untouchables in New Orleans." That's a pretty wild stance for the Pelicans to take, particularly on players as productive, young, and relatively cheap as Trey Murphy III. But let's run with it. If the Golden State Warriors are going to address their lack of athleticism, deep shooting and secondary playmaking on the wing, they'll likely do it by adding multiple players. If there's a single guy who can provide all that, he's usually making close to the max. Murphy is the exception. Inked to a team-friendly 4-year, $112 million extension that'll keep him underpaid through his mid-20s, the rangy wing averaged a career-high 21.2 points and 3.5 assists per game last year. A good defender who can also attack the rim at high altitude, Murphy is a career 38.3% long-range sniper whose only real question mark is health. How can the Dubs get a player as good as him with their resources and salary constraints? That's the hard part. Almost any deal would have to involve Brandon Podziemski, whom Golden State was loath to move last summer. Murphy would be a perfect fit alongside Curry, Butler, and Green as a high-level defender and elite three-point shooter. The trickier part is finding the trade. Brandon Podziemski, Moses Moody, and Buddy Hield match close enough contractually, but that would sacrifice a lot of the team's depth without an avenue to really replace it. And with an older cast of stars, the Warriors need depth. Draymond Green issue complicates Warriors' biggest offseason need. This could cause issues. As the Golden State Warriors enter the offseason, it has been reported that their two biggest priorities are acquiring either a playmaking wing who can either start or play off the bench or a rim-protecting, floor-stretching center. However, as noted on the latest episode of the Warriors Plus Minus podcast, Draymond Green's presence, and the team's need for him to anchor the defense in the most clutch situations, could prevent the front office from investing significant capital in another center. On the podcast, Anthony Slater of The Athletic said, "The Warriors have shown that they don't want to invest too heavily in the center position, knowing that, when the season is on the line, and, when the games matter, Draymond Green will mostly be the center." Therefore, while Green has stated that he does not want to be the primary center for Golden State due to the toll on his body throughout the season, it is likely that the solution to that problem will have to come internally. Draymond Green's defensive importance stands in the way of acquiring a center. Throughout last season, as the Warriors' logjam at the center position became more complicated, it quickly became apparent that Green, at only 6 feet 6 inches, could no longer be the primary big man for the team. While placing Green at the 5 allowed for Kuminga to start, this caused severe issues in the team's starting lineup because of the presence of two non-shooters on the floor, an issue that has largely held Kuminga back within the team's structure the last few seasons. The emergence of Quinton Post, who shot over 40% from three-point range in his rookie season, briefly seemed to be a solution to this issue, but the defensive shortcomings of his game, especially as they were exposed in the playoffs, left much to be desired. Therefore, as the roster stands now, Green must play center in the most clutch moments, and this prevents Golden State from dumping any of their valuable assets, including a Kuminga sign-and trade, into the acquisition of another center. While someone like Brook Lopez of the Milwaukee Bucks was rumored to be a potential target for the Warriors, his age and slowing defensive abilities likely would make him an imperfect fit, and, if he were going to be on the bench during the closing moments of games, there would be little point in acquiring him. With this in mind, the best Golden State can do is hope that Post's development continues and pivot to acquiring a playmaking wing that can help solidify the offense. Warriors will grant Quinton Post his wish if surging rumors prove true. Golden State could be set for a huge leap of faith in the youngster. There's been a prevailing thought that the Golden State Warriors would target a starting caliber center this offseason, and likely one who could space the floor next to veteran forward Draymond Green. It's why the Warriors have been linked to the likes of Brook Lopez, Nikola Vucevic, and even Boston Celtics center Kristaps Porzingis so far this offseason, yet the franchise could instead be set to make a bold call on young center Quinton Post. The Warriors could grant Quinton Post a big role next season. Post's underwhelming form and limited impact in the playoffs slightly soured what was an impressive rookie season, but Golden State could be about to grant the late second-round pick his wish of a significant role during his sophomore year. That's the thought of Anthony Slater of The Athletic and Tim Kawakami of the San Francisco Standard, with both believing that the Warriors could bypass an external option to lean on Post in a more substantial role. "I don't think it's going to be a stretch five now," Kawakami said in relation to potential targets on the Warriors Plus Minus podcast. "I don't think it's going to be Brook Lopez. I think they're going to try to lean on Quinton Post." Slater concurred with those comments, noting that there's a belief that Post is a real knockdown 7-foot shooter, which is rare in the league. The 52nd overall pick shot a team-leading 40.8% from three-point range during the regular season, but that slipped to 31.3% during the playoffs as the Houston Rockets and Minnesota Timberwolves focused more attention on Post's capabilities from beyond the arc. Given Steve Kerr has already spoken about his desire not to enter next season with Green as his starting center, Post could even be prepared for that role if Golden State choose not to target an external option. That would be a huge risk to take and a significant leap of faith in such an inexperienced player, particularly one who has a long way to go to become a solid interior defender and rebounder. Placing so much trust in Post would also fly in the face of the Warriors' desire to build a veteran contender, having invested heavily in the core trio of Stephen Curry, Jimmy Butler, and Green. Slater also believes that fellow young center Tracy Jackson-Davis will remain on the roster next season, with he and Post set to make just over $4 million combined next season as recent second-round picks. That leaves significant interest on the future of veteran center Kevin Looney, with the 3x NBA champion recently linked to the Los Angeles Lakers. Warriors have granted Jimmy Butler the wish they can't risk with Kevin Durant. Jimmy's content and leave it at that. By Peter O'Keefe, 58 minutes ago. The Kevin Durant sweepstakes are heating up on the eve of the NBA draft in a fortnight, with numerous teams showing interest in the former Golden State Warriors forward. The San Antonio Spurs, Houston Rockets, Minnesota Timberwolves and Miami Heat have all been linked to a move for Durant, but don't expect the Warriors to get involved in trying to reunite with the 2x Finals MVP as they did so aggressively just before the midseason trade deadline. The Warriors can't risk Jimmy Butler's happiness for Kevin Durant. Durant was unwilling to move midseason and rejoin the Warriors, while Jimmy Butler was also against a move to the Bay before the franchise gave him a new 2-year, $111 million contract which allowed a blockbuster trade with the Miami Heat to push through. Between the new contract and significant team success following the trade, the Warriors managed to grant Butler his wish of enjoying basketball again after having lost it over the final few unceremonious months with the Heat. With Butler the only likely avenue to acquiring Durant in the coming weeks, Golden State simply can't risk their current forward's happiness for a former player who's already shown an unwillingness to rejoin the franchise. As Anthony Slater of The Athletic noted on the latest episode of the Warriors Plus Minus podcast, it might not be worth flipping Butler for Durant even if the latter is the better player. "I'm not saying Jimmy Butler's a better player than Kevin Durant, but Jimmy Butler's a content, happy to be here Golden State Warrior who just with this iteration of the Warriors had a very strong finish of the season, helped them win in the first round," Slater said. Durant would certainly be viewed by most as the better player, but Butler's impact on the Warriors over the final months of the season may be classed as more significant than what Durant has done across the last few years. Either way, it's not enough of an upgrade considering the chemistry Butler built with Stephen Curry, Draymond Green and the like following his arrival. Without including Butler in a deal, Golden State would be hard-pressed to meet Durant's $54.7 million salary on the final year of his contract. They could try and make it work with Draymond Green, Moses Moody, Buddy Hield and smaller contracts, yet the math would become very complicated and leave them with very little depth. Former Warrior Andrew Wiggins, who was traded for Butler in February, could join the Suns if the Heat execute a deal for Durant, while the state of the West may only become more competitive and dangerous if the Spurs, Timberwolves, Rockets or another conference rival land the 15x All-Star. Warriors linked to potential free agent big man with obvious ties to Steve Kerr. Golden State do need this type of player. After ranking 16th in offensive rating during the regular season, the Golden State Warriors should be prioritizing that end of the floor as they head into free agency and potential trade moves. The Warriors' need for more scoring off the bench and more shooting in the front court could lead them to a veteran big man, with Bobby Portis the latest to be linked to the franchise this offseason. The Warriors could show free agency interest in Bobby Portis. Portis has become a staple of the Milwaukee Bucks organization, finishing 3rd and 6th Man of the Year voting twice and winning a championship with the franchise in 2021. However, the 30-year-old does have the capacity to lead the Bucks this offseason, with Portis holding a $13.4 million that he could opt out of to become an unrestricted free agent. If Portis does indeed opt out, then Jake Fisher of the Stein Line reports the Warriors as a team to monitor given his ties with franchise head coach Steve Kerr stemming from their Team USA days together. Golden State has always been a team to monitor for Portis, who has a notable fan in head coach Steve Kerr from their shared days during the 2023 FIBA World Cup competition with USA Basketball, Fisher wrote on Wednesday. Portis wouldn't necessarily be the starting caliber center that Golden State may need, but he'd nevertheless provide more spacing from the 4 to 5 positions that could prove incredibly valuable. The 6 feet 10 inches big man has been a consistent force for the Bucks, averaging at least 13.8 points and 7.4 rebounds in each of the past 4 years. Portis is also a career 38.3% three-point shooter, including drilling a career-high 40.7% on 3 attempts per game last season. Portis is much more of a question mark on the defensive side of the ball, potentially limiting him from playing regularly in closing lineups or in the biggest moments of games. On the other hand, Draymond Green's presence could eliminate some of those issues, while Portis' minutes have actually gone up in each of the last 2 postseasons. Whether the Warriors could actually realistically sign Portis in free agency is questionable and may be determined by the future of Jonathan Kuminga. Alternatively, Golden State's easiest path may be a sign-and-trade involving Moses Moody or Buddy Hield and some smaller contracts. The Warriors could also explore interest in a more certified 7-foot Bucks big man in Brook Lopez, with Fisher reporting that both players, Portis and Lopez, are expected to generate plenty of external interest in free agency. Shock injury news proves Warriors youngster is headed for true breakout season. He's already taken a leap while playing through injury. After already undergoing a wrist procedure in recent weeks, the Golden State Warriors have announced that Brandon Podziemski has gone under the knife for a second off-season surgery. The Warriors revealed on Wednesday that Podziemski had underwent successful surgery on a core muscle injury, having initially dealt with the issue in late December, which subsequently saw him miss the next 12 games. A healthy Brandon Podziemski could be set for a third-year breakout. Podziemski returned from the initial injury in impressive fashion by late January, overcoming a disastrous start to his second year in the process. Following the 12-game absence, the young guard scored in double figures for 5 straight games, before posting a career-high 29 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists in a February 4th game against the Utah Jazz. The 22-year-old continued to make strides toward the end of the regular season, scoring 22 points in 4 of the last 9 games, including a notable 28-point, 8-rebound, 6-assist display on 8 of 10 3-point shooting against the Los Angeles Lakers at Crypto.com Arena. From the time he returned from the core injury on January 23 to the end of the regular season, Podziemski averaged 14.9 points, 5.6 rebounds, and 3.6 assists on an efficient 46.9% from the floor and 41.2% from three-point range, 6 attempts per game. Now imagine what he could have done had the core injury not lingered to a point where he's now required surgery. Not to mention he also clearly dealt with a wrist injury that's since required surgery too. Podziemski's shooting numbers did fall off during the playoffs, But he still produced 26 and 28-point performances to prove the sort of future potential that's made the former 19th overall pick near untouchable in previous trade talks. Having taken another leap over the last 6 months, it's easy to envisage Podziemski developing to a new level next season once fully healthy and without the ailments that have since caused recent surgery. Given the increased firepower and competitiveness in the Western Conference, part of Golden State's improvement will need to come from a third-year breakout from Podziemski in order to make another playoff appearance. That will only become more important if the Warriors lose fellow youngster Jonathan Kuminga in a sign-and trade in the coming weeks, though signs are currently pointing to the young forward remaining in the Bay on a new contract as a restricted free agent. Another young Warrior player has also joined Podziemski in undergoing off-season surgery, with the franchise announcing in late May that Moses Moody had the ulnar collateral ligament, UCL, repaired in his right thumb.